Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari. Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Braja Janaranjana. Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Kala Chanji Radha Kala Chanji Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagaviti ruttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtuki krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha nandagopakumaraya govindaya namo namaha. So we'll read from just wait till the verse, yeah, display. It's Canto 8. So Canto 8, Chapter 3 and Text 2. Yeah. So this is from the chapter of Gajendra Moksham. So the verse is, yep. So Sri Gajendra Uvacha Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Yate Chidatmakam Purushayadi Bijaya Pareshaya Dhivimadhi. Om Shri Gajendra Uvacha Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Yata Chidatmakam Purashayadi Bijaya परेशाया भिधीमहि. Anyone can repeat? Sri Gajendra Uvacha. Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Yata Echacchidatmakam Purushayadi Bijaya Pareshaya Bidhimahi. Sri Gajendra Uvacha. Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Yate Chacchidatmakam Purushayadi Bijaya Pareshaya Vidhimahi. Sri Gajendra Uvacha. Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Yate Tacchidatmakam Purushayadi Bijaya Pareshaya Dhimahi. Okay. Sri Gajendra Uvacha. Om Namo Bhagavate Tasmai Yate Tacchidatmakam Purushayadi Bijaya Pareshaya Bidhimahi. Transliteration. Sri Gajendra Uvacha. Gajendra, the king of elephants, said, Om, my Lord, Namaha, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Bhagavate, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tasmai, unto him. Yataha, from whom. Etat, this body and the material manifestation. Chidatmakam, is moving due to consciousness, the spirit soul. Purushaya, unto the Supreme Person. Adi Bijaya, who is the origin or the root cause of everything. Para Ishaya, who is the supreme transcendental and worshipable for such exalted persons as Brahma and Shiva. Abhidhimahi, let me meditate upon him. Translation. The king of elephants, Gajendra, said, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Person, Vasudeva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Because of him, this material body acts due to the presence of spirit, and he is therefore the root cause of everyone. He is worshipable for such exalted persons as Brahma and Shiva, and he has entered the heart of every living being. Let me meditate upon him. Purport. In this verse, the words Etat Chidatmakam are very important. The material body certainly consists only of material elements, but when one awakens to Krishna conscious understanding, the body is no longer material but spiritual. The material body is meant for sense enjoyment, whereas the spiritual body engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, a devotee who engages in the service of Supreme Lord and who constantly thinks of him should never be considered to have a material body. It is therefore enjoined Gurushu Naramatihi. One should stop thinking of the spiritual master as an ordinary human being with a material body. Arche Vishnu Shiladhihi. Everyone knows that the deity in the temple is made of stone, but to think that the deity is merely stone is an offense. Similarly, to think that the body of the spiritual master consists of material ingredients is offensive. Atheists think that the devotees foolishly worship a stone statue as God and an ordinary man as the Guru. The fact is, however, by the grace of Krishna's omnipotence and the so-called stone statue of the deity is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the body of the spiritual master is directly spiritual. A pure devotee who is engaged in unalloyed devotional service should be considered to be situated on the transcendental platform. Sagunan samitya itan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Let us therefore offer our obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose mercy so-called material things also become spiritual when they are engaged in spiritual activity. Omkara, Pranava, is the symbolic sound representation of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Tat Sat iti nirdesho brahmanas trividha smrataha. The three words Om Tat Sat immediately awaken the Supreme Person. Therefore, Krishna says that he is Omkara in all the Vedic mantras. Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. The Vedic mantras are pronounced beginning with Omkara to indicate immediately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam, for example, begins with the words Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There is no difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, and Omkara. We should be careful to understand that Omkara does not indicate anything nirakara or formless. Indeed, this verse immediately says Om Namo Bhagavate. Bhagavan is a person. Thus, Omkara is the representation of the Supreme Person. Omkara is not meant to be impersonal, as the Mayavadi philosophers consider it to be. This is distinctly expressed here by the word Purushaya. The supreme truth addressed by Omkara is Purushaha, the Supreme Person. He is not impersonal. Unless he is a person, how can he control the great stalwart controllers of this universe? Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva are the supreme controllers of this universe. Lord Vishnu is offered obeisances even by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Therefore, this word uses the word Pareshaya, which indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by exalted demigods. Pareshaya means Parameshwara. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are Ishwaras, great controllers, but Lord Vishnu is Parameshwara, the supreme controller. Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So this canto, this chapter actually talks about Gajendra Moksham, which is actually a very important event which is shown in the 8th canto. So Gajendra obviously was an elephant who was, in the previous life, obviously the story goes that you had King Indradumna who was basically enjoying, and he got cursed to become an elephant. And so was King who was also cursed to become a crocodile. Now it so happened over time that Gajendra, he took a birth as an elephant. He basically started living his normal life as what an elephant does, having a family, enjoying his material sense gratification. Why Gajendra elephant? I mean, elephant is of course a animal considered in general in a kind of a mode of goodness and passion mixed together, but it is still in passion, it is said. So it's called indulgence in excess. So Gajendra obviously forgot his past life to some extent, and he basically got so engrossed that once he went into the lake and a crocodile comes and grabs his leg. So a Jivatma here, this representation is for us, is we are also in this material universe, and we tend to forget our constitutional position that we are Jivatma and there is Paramatma, there is Bhagavan Krishna. So Gajendra, in his time of distress, he remembers his past life and he prays to Bhagavan. And so the prayer comes is Sri Gajendra Vacha Om Namo Bhagavate Tasme Yate Tachidatmakam Purushayadi Bijaya Pareshaya Bhidimahi, and he chants praising Bhagavan. So one should understand that Bhagavan is not just for human beings. He is actually, as I said, as well as Parameshwara, which means he is actually Ishvara for everything, inanimate and animate, those which are moving and non-moving, even that which is material and spiritual. Everything emanates from him, as we know the verse in shloka which says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidanandam Vigraha Anadiradir Govindam Sarva Karana Karanam. So obviously, when Gajendra called out to Bhagavan, he called out in an unalloyed state of devotional service. The question here is actually very nicely written by Srila Prabhupada. The material body is meant for sense gratification, but the spiritual body engages in transcendental service Lord. And Prabhupada says that the devotee who engages in service of Supreme Lord and constantly thinks of Him should not consider a material body. The question will come to us is, are we in a material body? The answer is yes. Because later in the shloka, in the purport, he says, a pure devotee who is engaged in unalloyed devotional service, which means 24/7 non-stop. So our body still decays. If we were absolutely spiritual, our body would never decay. So that is, it basically is to tell us that we have still a long way to go. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has always said, Tranadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna, that we have to come to that level. It doesn't mean we cannot attain it, but we have to come to unalloyed state of devotional service. Gajendra also called out, but he called out in an unalloyed state. That is also Bhagavan's karuna, you can say. Some things Bhagavan also decides it has to happen. So it is said actually, when Gajendra called out to Bhagavan, it is not like Bhagavan was ready, waiting for Gajendra to come or to call him out. Bhagavan just jumped on Garuda and he came immediately, actually. It's not like his vastram and his jewelry everything were all set. No, he just jumped right away. Just like how Hiranyakashipu said to Prahlada that, are you present here and there? So it is said that at that moment of Shanam, what we say, Bhagavan was present in every atom himself as it is, because he didn't know where Prahlad would call him out to come from, actually. So, So he didn't, Bhagavan didn't know where Prahlada will call him out. So similarly, in Gajendra Moksham as well, Bhagavan just immediately jumped and came. And obviously the crocodile, Gajendra, was in tears, in pain when the crocodile caught his leg. The significance for us is we are also dragged in this material universe by our attachment to many things. But it doesn't mean we cannot live in a material universe, is how we have to detach slowly from it. So obviously Gajendra offers the lotus to Bhagavan and he calls out these players, and Bhagavan comes on Garuda and he swirls around Garuda, with Garuda he swirls around little bit Gajendra first. He actually sees, just like a mother, before a child is crying, she picks him up. She wants to see how the child is. So Bhagavan also enjoyed the leela of seeing Gajendra. So in this regard, we can understand that Bhagavan also enjoys his pastime with his devotee to save him. So obviously Bhagavan gets down and he grabs Gajendra immediately. Of course, he slays the crocodile by his Sudarshana Chakra. Obviously, King Hu is also the crocodile. He gets relieved from his curse. But for Gajendra, when Bhagavan touches him, immediately he gets a spiritual body and he gets moksham, actually. Because to be touched by Bhagavan is not ordinary. So that is the essence of, in a gist of how Gajendra is basically getting liberated. Now, of course, Gajendra in this whole shlokam, in this chapter itself, the prayers are huge. He praises actually Bhagavan in different forms about what is Bhagavan's beauty, what is Bhagavan's potency, why Bhagavan is called Ishvara Parama Krishna, Why is that he is considered, as in Purusha Suktam it says, Sahasra Shirsa Purusha, he is the actual Purusha of everyone. We are all Stri Purusha only. There is only one Purusha. Like once we know that Jiva Goswami was there in Vrindavan and Mirabai was there, and Jiva Goswami doesn't like to see women at all, and Mirabai wanted to take darshan of Jiva Goswami, and Jiva Goswami told his assistant that basically that he declines to see women because he is a renounced and he doesn't want to meet. Then Mirabai goes and tells him that I thought there is only one Purusha in Vrindavan, and that is Sri Krishna. So immediately Jiva Goswami understands he is not meeting an ordinary person. Of course, because we have karma, we take body, so we have to abide by certain things of what we are, right, in our constitutional position as a man or a woman. But it doesn't mean it's a discrimination, right? In today's world, there is a lot of discrimination where equality and all these things. But in the spiritual world and even in our Shastra, the mother is always given the first position actually. Like in Taittiriya Upanishad, it said, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Atidhi Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. So first is always the mother is given the first. Even in the spiritual world, we surrender. We can go to either Srimati Radharani or even in different Devis we worship. The mother is always given the predominant position in any Vedic actually scripture. Even for Lord Sri Krishna, always Lakshmi or Srimati Radharani is always present with him, it is said. Though you may see Krishna by himself, but she's always present, his potency. So that is why the word Sri is always added in the front. So just to show that, without the mother, nothing happens. So this is the pastime of how Gajendra actually in this whole shlokam. And of course, Gajendra returns to the spiritual world, right? All the demigods and Brahmas, they praise this activity and they shower flowers, right? And basically, of course, King Hu also, the inhabitants of Gandharva Loka, they are also happy what has happened. So we can see in this pastime that Bhagavan delivers not just human beings or jivatmas who have taken birth as human beings, but also actually any plant, any animal, any creature. Another place we can see this, there are countless examples of Bhagavan delivering jivatmas. One of the other places where we can see that Bhagavan is delivered is Jatayu. So in Ramayana, obviously when Sita gets kidnapped by Ravana, Jatayu is one of the king of the eagles, and he goes and fights Ravana actually, and he tries to stop because he sees Sita being kidnapped, and obviously Ravana cuts Jatayu's wings and he falls, and he knows that Rama will somehow come looking for Sita. So Jatayu maintains his breath till Rama and Lakshmana find him. Of course, in Valmiki Ramayanam, it is actually said that, so if you think about it, even Vali was slain by Lord Rama. But what Jatayu did is very significant, because he did not thinking of Lord Rama or Lord Lakshmana, he did it to uphold dharma. So it says, Dharmo raksheti rakshitaha. Those who uphold dharma, dharma protects them, actually, it is said. In today's world, the word dharma, you can give a countless hours to speak about dharma itself, definition according to Manusmriti and all. But in dharma itself, that which is there to maintain, that which is, we call in today's word is ethics, morality and other things, honesty. Dharma is not just that, it is far more encompassing. It is a way of life actually. Thought is, you have to get thought, word and then deed. So if you don't get thought, then word will not come, and then how will deed follow? So thought has to be purified. That is why we give, as even here in the shloka we say, the word Omkara is said, or Om Tat Sat, or we chant Mahamantra. Why? Because purification, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Cheto darpana marjanam bhavamadavagni nirvapanam. So purification is what will make us understand this constitutional position. Similarly, Jatayu actually, he basically fought to uphold dharma, and that is what happened. So in Valmiki Ramayanam it is written, Yagati yad shilanam ahati agne chaya gatihi apara avirtyanam jya chayaya bhumi pradanyayam. So the translation is, O mighty great eagles, by me cremated ritually and by aptly consented to you, you depart to this unexcelled heavenly worlds. You depart to those worlds that are destined for the virtues of Vedic rituals. So generally a Vedic ritual, if you see, is performed with aspect of punya. One will undoubtedly get, whether you know it or not, you will get some credit about it. But in terms of Jatayu, there is no, if you think about it, there is no procedure for a plant or an animal to have a cremation or a ceremony. Actually, if you see, people may do it, but that is, I'm not going to comment about whatever they do by emotion, but to do it by Vedic ritual is not prescribed or not written. So that's an aspect. So obviously in this case Lord Rama cremates him, actually, Jatayu. There is a place in India, actually in South India, where Jatayu was found and the cremation is done, actually. If you think about it, even Dasharatha did not get the, of course we shouldn't say that way, but Dasharatha is fortunate to have Rama as his son. Normal people cannot have that. That itself one should understand. The qualification itself is not there for all of us. The Dasharatha has qualified. But the significance here is, of course, Rama went on, he had to go to the forest. So when Dasharatha passed away in pain, Rama couldn't do his cremation. Of course, his other son was present, Bharata was present. But here, Rama did cremation for Jatayu. So he got the position of a father, actually, and he also attained moksha. So here it is said that, so that is why it said that Jatayu did not attack Ravana, keeping Rama or Sita in view, but attacked only to uphold or stall dharma. Stall as in to make sure that Rama understands that Sita has come and she has been kidnapped. Of course, one can always question, Rama is also a personality of Godhead. He is not ordinary, he is Bhagavan. But the difference is, as Bhagavad Gita says, Manushim Tanumashritam. Rama never shows that he is Bhagavan, except in few places he has shown in the whole Leela. Though he is Bhagavan, but he doesn't show. In fact, Lord Krishna, this is the Leela avataram, right? Krishna himself wants to enjoy, and that's how he is in the Leela itself. Even in Vrindavana as a child, in his pastimes as a kid, stealing butter. Rama has pastimes, but Krishna doesn't mind being praised, as we see. But Rama will not even like if someone praises him. That is how his Leela he has come. He understands, but that's why it is said that Valmiki has described this very beautifully in Valmiki Ramayanam of how Rama's charitram is there. So that is why it is said that normal animals, plants may not get this because they are also Jivatmas, but Jatayu got the position, actually. So we can see that Bhagavan's Karunai or mercy is not just limited to human beings. It is also limited to every Jivatma of his. We may not know all his Leelas which happen every time, but he does actually show that. So that is why it is said that, na shudra na bhagavad bhakta vipra bhagavata smritihi. So one who is called a devotee of Vishnu is to be called a vipra. He is not a non-devotee, right? He is actually even a plant or animal. That is why, which is said in Bhagavad Gita, we quote the slok, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Graminega Vihastini, which means a learned sage sees anyone who is a Jivatma also as Bhagavan Samsham, as a devotee. So we cannot say that just because, of course, There is also practical common sense. You cannot put your hand in a snake's den and expect the snake not to bite you. That's a different story. So devotional service also means using logical common sense, right? You cannot say drive without seat belt and chant Krishna's name and save you if an accident happens, right? Chanting Krishna's name or surrender to Krishna doesn't mean testing his strength. Actually, it's anukulya sankaspya pratikulpa varjanam karpanyam. It is meekness which comes. When you surrender, just as a child, when surrenders to its young born baby, it surrenders to its mother. The child or the baby or the toddler doesn't test the mother. It actually surrenders knowing that it will protect me when it cries. That is how Gajendra called. The call was not a question of doubt. If we also have that same, as Prabhupada has also said in the class, we should chant as if we cry for a mother, a child cries, right? Call out the same way. That is the cry should be when we chant. Of course, there are different stages of chanting in different aspects and the bhavams and everything, which we don't want to discuss today. But that's how it should be, the prayer should be, to surrender unto Bhagavan's feet by chanting his name. And only then we will naturally realize that he is always there to protect us. Of course, we also have our karma which has to be taken care of. There is a misconception many times people think by chanting and many things, Krishna is giving difficulty. That is not the case. We have chosen this body and difficulty for our own karma. It is like that. Otherwise, no one will have any problems. So, it doesn't mean Bhagavan doesn't help us. By chanting his name and surrendering to him, it gives us the strength. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Ashlisyava padaratam pinashtuma, which means no matter whatever difficulty comes, I will still be only thinking of you. The same way Gajendra also did. He didn't initially come to that realization, but that's what it is. So that's why we always in this material universe of pain and suffering. But if we surrender to Krishna, then these things will go away. So like, for example, there is a nice, shlokam which we say, there is multiple slokams. So, about Lord Krishna. So I'll just read that. So, it says, Vacham nijam nika rasikam prasamikshamano vaktra vinda vineshe panchajanyam varna trikona ruchure vata pundarike baddha sano jayati vallava chakravarti. So Lord Krishna, as we say, Sri Gopala, is seated on a yantra in the shape of an 8-shaped petal. And I think some of us know this mantra which say, Sri Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopichandra Ballaya Balaya Swaha. So it is another yantra in the shape of a triangle. So Gopal Upasaka seats. So he is seated in the center of the inner triangle. And there is this illustrious beauty. On his lap, we find the goddess. She blesses with these glances. He is on the lotus lips. His conch is called Panchajanyam, whose sound is that of Pranava. So if a child cries, generally it is just cry. But when Bhagavan cries, it is actually sound of Vedam. His cry is not considered to be like a normal cry. His voice only sings, actually. The voice of Lord Sri Krishna is very beautiful, actually. So that's why it is said that the essence of the Vedas comes out. Normal child cries. When Bhagavan was born from Devaki and Yasoda, from Devaki in the prison, he didn't cry like a normal child. His birth was not like a normal child. He just appeared from the womb. It is not like a normal child is covered in the, there's an umbilical cord, but it is actually wrapped around his body like a sacred thread. That's how Bhagavan comes. He's not covered in blood. He's not coming out of the embryo sac. That is material birth. Bhagavan's birth is spiritual, actually. He is still in Pitambaram. I mean, I don't think we have a picture of that here, but we all have seen that picture which is drawn in multiple places. That birth of Lord Sri Krishna is not like what we see. So Bhagavan's Leela is actually always beautiful. That's why it says Geetam Madhuram, Pitham Madhuram. His singing is beautiful. His Bhuktam is Madhuram. His eating is beautiful. His Srishti is beautiful. This is Vallabhacharya's song which he has written about Adhara Madhuram. So, everything about Bhagavan is beautiful. Even his slaying of demons is beautiful. It is not like some gore way. Of course, Hiranyakashipu was slain for whatever he did, but it is not considered in a negative way. As we know, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were Jaya and Vijaya. They had only the purpose to come to actually participate in Bhagavan's pastime. That's the reason. Because anyone who is slain directly by Bhagavan, he doesn't take birth again. So that's the answer. So I'll end today's class. If there are any comments or questions people want to share, I'll be happy. Yes, Prabhuji. That is correct. Yes, but Jaya and Vijaya, they are already Vaikuntha Dwarapalakas. They are already the gatekeepers inside Vaikuntha. So they are exceptions. You are correct, absolutely. So because the pastime is such that, actually it is such that, think about it, they are already in Vaikuntha Loka, which is cross Viraja Nadi. Their thought is only to serve Bhagavan 24/7. So the thought that they had to say something to Sanat Kumara actually is also Bhagavad Sankalpam only. It is Bhagavan who has actually made them say like that. Actually, that's how it is. It is said according to Acharyas have said. Because one who goes back to spiritual world, he doesn't think of offending another Bhagavata. Okay. So that's why they are, of course, Bhagavan also gave them the option, right? Either through the sages, either you take 100 births or 3 births. It's a trick. Any person will say there is no guarantee after 100 births, so they also take 3 births. So that's how it is. So you're correct, actually you're right, that you cannot get, demons cannot be slain, they will only go to Brahmajyoti, but they are exception. Yes, Prabhuji? Right. Yes. Correct. Vishnu, Vasudeva. Right. Right. Correct. 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 Yes. Right. 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 Well, actually, to say this, that Ravana, people think about. Right. 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 So yes, there are always exceptions, and like the word demon or asura is used. Actually, Ravana is not some ordinary personality. People should know he is very well versed in Shastra. Actually, the understanding of people think. Actually, we don't know nothing. If you think about it, we actually know hardly even 2% or 1% of what they knew from even Shastra. They are extremely actually. When I say understanding what Shastra is actually. Though of course clouded judgment happens, but yes, there are exceptions, so it doesn't mean some cannot go. Ultimately it is between Jivatma and Paramatma. That is the answer actually.
Even with Ram, he performed pastimes to do penance
Yes.
because Ravana was born of the Brahmin family. So after Ram killed Ravana, he actually performed some austerity.
No, he had to do Prashchitam because that's why I said Lord Rama is actually abiding by every principle. So everything he has to do is to actually set example for us. So you're correct. So
One interesting point is everybody's just choosing random verses. There's no order that we're doing the classes in. So this isn't going to be a daily discussed class. So there's a couple things that Prabhupada points out in this pastime that because one of the devotees had been a sannyasi and he had stepped down from sannyas and gotten married, and so Prabhupada wanted to encourage him, and Prabhupada mentions him indirectly in one of the purports of this pastime, that if somebody's situated properly in their particular ashram, and he gives Gajendra as the example of somebody who's not situated properly, because he was in the water, which wasn't his element. He's a land creature. So because he was in the water, which was the advantage of the crocodile, so Prabhupada points out in that purport that it's very important for the devotees to understand how to be situated properly so they can be strong spiritually. Materially, they have to be in the right varna and ashram, and then because of being situated properly, they can get strength to fight and become Krishna conscious. That's one of the points that Prabhupada makes in that pastime, is that Gajendra wasn't. And then another thing that he points out is that the king, Vishnucaran, he learned those shlokas in his previous life. So Prabhupada points out also that it's very important for us to learn shlokas because this is what happened. All of a sudden he knew those verses so well in his next life. Those verses came to his mind and he was able to say those prayers. So a couple different points. We're not going to discuss the whole deal here.
sure. Thank you, Prabhuji. Any other comments or questions or? Okay, I think we are good for today. So Vrindaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.